as news reporters.
Haven't seen anything since then.
Just fucking, once you get on, just open them up.
I see your element. You got about 4 Humvees out along this.
You're clear.
All right, firing. Line here. With the space line.
Let me know when you get it. We'll shoot. Light them all up.
202 traffic, 260.
Come on, fire.
Roger.
Keep shoot. Keep shoot.
Bushmaster 2-6. We need to move time now.
Alright, we just engaged all 8 individuals.
A whole street covered with bodies. The reaction to that was nice.
Yeah, look at those dead bastards. Nice. 2-6, Crazy Horse 1-8.
This tape from me and the other people involved made nice a dirty word. So we just couldn't see something as being nice anymore when a whole street covered with carnage is nice.
Ethan McCord was one of the first soldiers to reach the scene of the killing. Here he speaks to an audience in the United States.
Myself and the team of soldiers I was with began running in the direction where we heard the Apache fire.
Good shoot. Thank you.
I was not even close to prepared for the carnage that I was about to walk onto. I saw what appeared to have been 3 men on a corner.
Got that big pile of bodies to the right on the corner.
Yeah, right here. Dismounted infantry and vehicles. Over.
It was an extreme shock to my system. They didn't look human. Then there was the smell. The smell was unlike anything I've smelled before. A mixture of feces, urine, blood, smoke, and something else indescribable.
Yeah, Bushmaster, we have a van that's approaching and picking up the bodies. Request permission to engage.
Bushmaster 7, Roger. This is Bushmaster 7, Roger. Engage.
1-8, engage. Clear. Come on. Clear. Clear left. Oh yeah, look at that, right through the windshield. I just drove over a body. Yeah.
Crying. I hear crying. Not cries of pain, but that of a small child who had just woken up from a horrible nightmare.
Yeah, it looks like we got it.
I saw that there was a minivan, and the cries appeared to be coming from it. Myself and another soldier, a 20-year-old private, walked up to the passenger side van and looked inside. The private that I was with reeled back, began to vomit, and quickly ran away. What I saw when I looked in the van was a small girl about 4 years old on the passenger side of the bench seat. She had a severe belly wound and was covered in glass.
Roger, we need a evac this child. She's got a wound in the belly.
The glass was in her hair and also in her eyes. Next to her, half on the floorboard, with his head resting on the seat, was a boy about 7 years old. He wasn't moving, and from the severe wound to the right side of his head, my first thought was that he was dead. In the driver's seat was who I immediately concluded must have been these children's father by the way he was hunched over the children in a protective manner. The whole time thinking, fuck, what the fuck, these are babies.
Hey, I need to get the brass to drop ramps. I got a wounded girl. We need to take the rest of mine.
Oh, it's their fault for bringing their kids to a battle. That's right.
See, my son was born May 31st, 2007. I had yet to see him. And I had a daughter who was barely older than this girl. The medic radioed in that the little girl needed to be evacuated because there was nothing else he can do here. I handed the child to the medic, who then ran the girl to a waiting Bradley armored vehicle.
Hey, well, man.
I walked back to the van. I don't know why. I looked inside the van again. Did the boy just move? Holy shit, the boy just moved. I grabbed the boy from the van and held him against my chest. I was screaming at this point, the boy's alive, the boy's alive. I started running to the Bradley in hopes that it wasn't leaving. At this point, the boy looked up at me. Then his eyes rolled back, and my heart sunk. It's okay, I have you. It's going to be okay. Don't die, don't die. I squeezed him a little bit tighter. I put him into the Bradley as gently as I could.
Did you tell the battalion that 2 civilian children casualties are
platoon leader. You need to quit worrying about these fucking kids and pull security, he screamed. At the time, the only thing I can think of was, Roger that, sir.
One of the soldiers on the ground, he describes the atrocity as, and I quote him, an everyday occurrence. And he said the word from his commander was to kill, I won't use the word, everyone on the street. And he replied to him, "Are you kidding me, women and children?" He said, "Yes." And it's a point made by many other soldiers who've come back from Afghanistan and Iraq that this kind of atrocity is not an aberration.
Well, first of all, this is not an everyday occurrence. If it was an everyday occurrence, we would certainly know about it. These incidences are unfortunate. Every one in which there's a civilian casualty is unfortunate. But again, it is the enemy who is deliberately trying to inflict civilian casualties and put civilians in harm. It is the NATO forces, it is the U.S. forces that are taking every precaution that they can to prosecute the war and prevent civilian casualties.
General James Cartwright, who's Vice Chair of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, he says the United States can expect to be at war, and these are his words, for as far as the eye can see. That sounds like a permanent state of war.
Our job is to be prepared to fight and win this nation's wars. And so we have to be prepared for the possibility of conflict into the future.
It's a remarkable state of affairs, isn't it? Because the United States is not, in fact, threatened by a power that could possibly overturn it, defeat it. That's impossible. But still it goes on as if we're all drawn into, most of humanity, into a permanent state of war. For many people, that seems very difficult to justify.
Well, first of all, there are some very dangerous asymmetric threats that are out there. Terrorism, obviously, one of them. This is what we anticipate going into the future is not necessarily nation-on-nation type conflict. Okay, it is these asymmetric threats that are out there. It's the threat of weapons of mass destruction. There's another asymmetric threat is the cyber threat that exists. These are all threats that transcend geographical boundaries. So, the United States military has to prepare for a wide range of threats that exist out there in order to protect its national interests.
Are media drums beating for another war? Say a war with Iran?
I wouldn't say that the media are beating the drums for war yet, although they are showing the same credulousness, the same obsequiousness towards the powerful as they did in advance of the Iraq War. I'm not sure it's to the point that they're beating the drums for war yet, but when the elites decide it's time to go, I would be surprised if they did anything but.
You mentioned already Iran.
Yeah.
And there is an enormous choice to be made about Iran, a more developed, more formidable, more populous, and certainly better armed country than Saddam's Iraq, whatever it was. Are you actually saying that we should threaten them militarily if they are determined to develop nuclear weapons?
I am saying that I think it is wholly unacceptable for Iran to have nuclear weapons capability.
But what can we do about it?
And I think we've got to be prepared to confront them.
Militarily?
If necessarily
Militarily?
If necessarily militarily. I think there is no alternative to that. If they continue to develop nuclear weapons, then they need to get that message loud and clear.
Does this sound familiar? There is as much evidence that Iran is building nuclear weapons as there was that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction, as claimed by Tony Blair.
We know that great falsehoods were perpetrated, and yet the individuals who perpetrated these things are still running around, more or less much as before, being taken seriously as commentators, as authorities on this or that. I find it astonishing. These people should hide their heads in shame.
The British